Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some or a lot of money, or just protect what you've made over the last bunch of years. Maybe we're in that mode. Loaded up for discussion today. We've got the SEC's Paul Atkins saying all US markets will be on chain within 2 years. Big question I want to think about today is, okay, if that is the case, if that is the trajectory, how do we participate in that? Because I think it's decreasingly obvious that just buying the coins will necessarily go up. So Legendary will take us through some of that in a bit. We've got Aztec raising over $60 million in ETH using the new Uniswap auction model. That's pretty interesting. Got Bread taking us through that today. And then finally, Beeple's regular animals given out at Art Basel and trading at around $30,000 on the NFT side. Art Basel did seem to be a big success with a lot of NFT artists becoming more and more prominent, although maybe stepping outside into the more traditional world in a successful way. So we'll discuss all these three things. Nice variety to talk about today. We also got the latest news on price action and crypto as usual, plus general market takes and some of those bigger questions I mentioned already. I've got Legendary and I've got Bread in the co-host seat with me today. We're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we ever say on this show, including today, is financial advice. The market is very, very risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Bread, it's Monday. It's the 8th of December. You're back home. You're comfortable. That's why I'm going straight to you today. How are you doing, my man?
Good. I'm looking up at the corner. I see my internet is strong, which is a nice change.
I thought your internet would be strong. You're back home. I can go to you straight away.
On max today. Yep. I mean, I was, the downside of being back is that it's 4 a.m. again, and that's why you had to ease into me because I'm waking up. I took a little shower. I was reading my news bits, but we're ready to go. I'm excited. One exciting announcement I found out was when I got home. I missed Black Friday and Cyber Monday because I was traveling that whole time. So it's like I got back. It's like I felt compelled to buy something. And for those in the crowd who are familiar with Logitech has an MX series, which is like the best series. And I found out they came out with the new mouse, MX Series 4 mouse. So I upgraded my mouse. I'm excited to start playing around with it. This is day 0 of the new mouse. So anyone else who's a big fan like me, know that they did that, and you can buy them. Amazon gives you in a day.
You know what, you're inspiring again, Brad. Once a very long time ago, we parked this whole conversation because we went into a bit of a mania over the summer. I think we have not come around back to it. The Modern Market TikTok account exists, and I want to do some live social shopping, Brad. You want to get up there and sell some mouses for us? Is that something you'd be open to? You seem to be a big Logitech fan here.
So I am, and yes, I would. I'm probably gonna drop a little bit of alpha here. Are you guys aware of TikTok shopping and like the very, very fast paced?
Yep, I think so. Yeah. So this live social shopping thing, I don't know if that's the same as TikTok Shop, but this is the thing that I've got my eye on.
Yeah, we batted around the idea of doing that on Mega, because Mega is so fast, like an auction that goes in 5 seconds, right? So it's like, come on, I got to go, hey, buy this thing, and I throw it off the screen. No, you want to buy this thing? I throw it off the screen. You guys have to click as fast as you can to actually bid on the thing. So that may still come for our swag shop, but yeah, like we actually saw that, we loved it, and we're like, this is something that we could actually probably lean into a little bit with Mega.
That's hilarious. That'd be Legendary's favorite type of auction. Just get to click 1,000 buttons just to move the price up by like 26 cents or something.
Bro, some of those things are ridiculous. Like it's like literally like it flies on screen, they pick it up, they grab it, and then they throw it off the screen. And you're supposed to like buy it in that 3-second window.
Looks fun. Legendary, what do you think? How are you doing? What do you think of this idea? And actually, Oxy with his hand up as well. We'll get to him in a sec.
And GM, yeah, I'm all for it. I love that. We'll have some sort of degeneracy, then add a bit of a gambling element to it. You have a button, you can click that. It's either going to be pay double or nothing. And we go for the complete online shopping degeneracy experience. And it's fun because yesterday, I think it was B, right? The two of us met and we kind of discussed.
I don't know. I'm losing track of all the days, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday, where we want to take the modern market in the future. And, we have some ideas. But yesterday we didn't talk about the live shopping / gambling experience. And maybe we'll fully pivot into that.
I
We've got to
forgot. You know
explore it.
what? We actually had a better chance to see each other. So Legendary was flying in as I was flying out into Dubai, and I got delayed by a couple hours. It's like I was at the airport to like 3 a.m. So we actually probably could have high-fived.
No way.
Yeah.
Damn. Just missed. But yeah, I mean, actually, it has been a strange few days because like hanging out with Brad in real life, hanging out with Legend in real life, like hanging out with Raheem in real, like is usually not something that
This
happens.
is your new life.
Yeah, this is the new life. Okay, there we go. Absolutely love it. Oxy, your hand is raised. Welcome to the stage, my man. What do you think? Is this the modern market pivot for the future? Live social shopping? Do you want to participate? What are you thinking?
Absolutely. And it got me thinking about Legendary's like gadget corner that we used to do, where it's like he was, getting something new every day. And then it got me thinking, I haven't heard about that AI toothbrush in a minute, man. Like I need an update on that gadget review. Is this peak bear market conversations,
Of course
by
it
the
is.
way?
Absolutely, of course it is. AI, just before we started the show, Oxy, today, I was asking these guys have AI webcams as well. Like I just have the normal one. These guys got the AI webcams as well. That if you move your head like in a small direction, it follows you around as well. Ledge, what is going on with that AI that AI toothbrush? Before we get into the main stuff today, because we've got a lot of interesting news to talk about too. But last bit on the on the consumer, the AI consumerism.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, Oxy, because I have my trustworthy AI toothbrush with me, and I'm actually annoyed because I forgot to fully charge it, and I don't have the charger with me, and I can't use it. I have to brush manually
would you
for the
do?
next couple of days, and this feels very dumb. This feels very non-intelligent as compared to the AI toothbrush version that I'm typically using. And I was
Not a bad
thinking maybe I could ask you if you have the same charger for that, but then I was like, nah. What are the chances that you have an AI toothbrush? Like literally 0.
Very controversially, I've barely shifted over to an electric toothbrush. I'm just so like, what's wrong with the normal brush, man? What's all this need to electrify everything? Chargers everywhere. It's like world's gone crazy. We're just on charge all the time. Okay, look. What is not on charge is the market. It's kind of going nowhere, settling in a little bit. We've got some interesting bits of news for you today to get into, including some big questions. Specifically, I'm interested in this one about all markets coming on chain in 2 years. That's what the SEC's Paul Atkins said. I think it was on Saturday or on Friday. But also trying to think like how do we participate in that now? Because I don't know that we've ever had a situation where people have had less and less confidence in our ability as not Wall Street, not company builders to participate in some of that upside. I think people truly believed in the coins before. Belief in the coins is at a low. So I want to have that conversation today. And we'll get to the rest of the roundup to get you up to speed in a second. But before we do, just want to shout out our partner for today. Today, this show is sponsored by Tria, the self-custodial neobank building the future of payments for both humans and AI. Tria unifies spend, trade, and earn across all chains, giving you one powerful platform to manage your assets securely without ever giving up control. With up to 6% cashback on your Tria Visa card, you're rewarded every time you spend. And Legendary is an avid user of the card. So we'll be learning more about Tria in a little segment later in the show. Shout out to Tria for sponsoring the show today. And we'll learn a little bit more in a bit. But getting to the market roundup, as usual, starting with the price action, we're looking at Bitcoin first, up a few percent to 91.8K. We've got ETH up around 3% to 3.1K. XRP's up a couple of percent to $2, just over $2. BNB's up a couple of percent to over 900. Sol's up 4%, almost at 140 at $138. Hype, however, Hype's now back above $30. It's up a percent, but it had dipped down to as low as I think around 28, as I think some significant hype leverage was getting wiped out. Getting into the meme coin side of things, we have Doge up a couple of percent to 14 cents. We've got Pepe up 5%. Trump is up 1%. Pengu's down 1%. SPX is up 8%. Fartcoin's up 11%. Fartcoin continually being the token that is most volatile, both going up and down. And Brett's up 7%, Pippin's up 15. So some things are green, some things are red here. Not a general consensus. Rect is up 5 as well. Getting into the main headlines themselves that we'll be discussing in more detail today. SEC's Paul Atkins says all US markets will be on chain within 2 years. We'll talk about that. We'll talk Aztec's raise, Aztec being the privacy chain, raising over $60 million in ETH using a new Uniswap auction model. So Brett will touch on that. And Beeple's regular animals given out at Art Basel and trading at around $30,000. Beeple really setting the traditional art world alight with his prints and NFT offering. So notable price action, Monad's up 7%, back above the ICO price. SPX is up 7%. Zcash is up 8% as well. And as I mentioned, Hype dipped below $30, but now just clinging on again. Getting into the rest of the roundup, we got stable mainnet to go live today as next USDT stablecoin chain. Feel like there's not a whole lot of energy around that from a lot of people on crypto Twitter. Maybe because Plasma has declined in price so significantly. We'll see where this one comes out. We'll keep an eye out. Poland was announced that it's the only EU country to hold out on application of Mica. Plasma announces partnership with Bridge to enhance underlying payments infrastructure for its Plasma One card. Wisdom Tree market ETH staking fund with Lido staked ETH. Hyperliquid announces the USDC is now linked between Hypercore and Hyper EVM. For a long time, you couldn't go between USDC and on Core and EVM. Now you can. You had to do USDT before. OpenEden announces strategic investment from Ripple, Anchorage Digital, and Selene, amongst others, to expand end-to-end tokenization as a service platform. I'm intrigued by that in general. And finally, Doodles announced a new 25K secondary character collection. Looks pretty cool and colorful. Showing that on the screen for the people who are watching in. And if you're not, can't describe it to you. It's pretty crazy characters, very multicolored. It looks kind of cool. That's what I'll say there. But that's the roundup, guys. Before we get into the main stuff today, coming straight to you, Legendary, then I'll come to Bread. Anything catching your attention here before we get into the main stuff today? What's going on? What are your thoughts on the market?
So for me, the Mica stuff is interesting, seeing that Poland is vetoing that. So basically the way it works is the president did veto it, then there was a parliament vote where they needed, I think, a 3/5 majority to override that veto, which they failed to get. So basically, they did not overturn it, and they are still in opposition to the markets and crypto asset regulation that is coming from the EU. And it is very, I'm curious to see what that will mean. Because ultimately, the way that the EU works like is you have these directives, you have directives that have to be converted into national law. I think you have 24 months. I think it's 2 years you have, or either was it 18 months, 1.5 years to 2 years. Let's open up the time frame a bit to convert that. And I'm curious to see how this will play out in reality, especially now if you have stablecoin issuers, companies who want to be Mica compliant. You have Circle's USDC, companies headquartering, applying for Mica licenses, Mega ETH doing their ICO in a Mica compliant way. And what will happen if you have one country which stays in opposition to that, in case they're going to continue with this route or with taking this view. So I'm just interested to see how this will play out in basically regulatory practice and what that will mean for crypto companies in the EU, if they can even uphold that stance for a more significant period of time.
Okay. That's interesting. One follow-up question on the EU, Ledge, because I know people are based all around the world who listen to the show, getting some additional insight. What did you think about the enforcement of the Digital Services Act, but from the EU on X, finding the X platform for non-compliance?
Yeah, they did fine them for they issued a 120 million euro fine. That would be like close to 140 MUSD. Elon obviously being very, very outraged about that. And I can understand X's outrage, and I can understand that as a platform, X is frustrated with the EU trying to basically kind of take direction with where X is going or X is headed. I remember that when Trump was interviewed on X, the Spaces that was hosted, that the EU Commission did write a letter to X or to Elon, to one of the two of them, basically asking Elon to not host Trump and reminding them of the Digital Services Act, etc. And obviously, X and Elon did view that as an attack from an institution on their freedom of speech. So this will be a conflict that I think will continue. In the traditional media circles, unsurprisingly, the EU has the media's backing. And it also seems like I was scrolling some of the local newspapers for me to just see how people in the comments are feeling about that. Everyone's like hating Elon, everyone's hating X, so they love it and they wish nothing more than for X to shut down and be turned off in Europe. But it's kind of becoming this this fight for regulation, fight for power, and the EU is trying to impose some of those things globally, and they have been doing so. And some of these things are make sense, like the fact that all iPhones now have USB-C charging ports and don't do Lightning anymore is a result of the EU saying, guys, every phone, everything needs to be USB-C. You can't have your own dedicated thing. It doesn't make any sense. So sometimes this makes sense. Sometimes it's overstepping. In my opinion, in this case, I do think that this is rather on the overstepping side of things. But what's also interesting with that is that Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan did say that EU is basically losing innovation, is losing capital, people, talent is moving out of there as a result of this regulatory overreach. So it's not only coming as a criticism from like typically the tech moguls, the more like AI tech friendly, crypto friendly people, other more traditional industries, and I would definitely say that JP Morgan as a like finance house is as traditional as it gets, are criticizing or like voicing criticism against what they perceive to be regulatory overreach.
A bunch of excellent takes there. I really liked, just the nuanced part about regulation, how, there are some, I know sometimes people on the internet just love to go completely full blown one direction or the other. And yes, there are some occasions where they are actually helpful. And it's interesting you bring up Jamie Dimon, as you say, because I think there's extreme mistrust and against the tech moguls specifically. Whereas I highly doubt they would go after Jamie Dimon in the same way if he was to be anti-EU, whereas it's very easy to be anti-Musk if you are in the EU at the moment, at least. So that I wanted to go there because I think it's interesting for other people's perspectives to hear our perspectives of people who are more experienced in the region. Brad, coming to you here first, maybe just on this topic, it is quite interesting in general. Did you have any view specifically either way on how this stuff is developing in the EU, maybe Twitter's response? Any thoughts there before we get into just what's catching your attention?
So Legendary went exceptionally right curve there. It's very, very intellectual take. I appreciate that. And I think it's a great take. I'm going to pick a left curve take out of it. Yeah, I'm going to apply some balance and focus on the thing that makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't apply to our industry at all. It's like, I had no idea the USB-C thing was forced on devices for that. And as a USB-C maxi, I still respond to people who have iPhones. I'm like, I don't think it works for your shit anymore. And they're like, no, dude, like it works for everyone. So like, that's actually, I had no idea that was actually a forced thing from the EU. Who is we know their greatest export is legislation, and I think that's a good sign of that.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's all I have for that. I think he covered it really well and applied nuance, which is great. I'll go to some things that are sticking out to me.
Yes, please.
And so the first one, just because it's like right in front of my face, you're showing the doodle stuff right now, and my initial critique was, I look at this and I don't go, this looks rare, like, which evokes the 2021. Like, you should always look at a collection and go like, oh, that one looks rare, even if you don't know which one is. But then I saw the little golden bird, and I'm going to call on Legendary here because that looks like was it a Dodrio? Is that what the old name was for Pokemon? Yeah. So it looks like a golden Dodrio.
Like a shiny. They use even the Pokemon games, this little like sparkles, diamond like sparkles for shinies.
Yeah, so that was going to be my initial critique, but now I take it back because I actually do see one that looks rare, so that's actually good. I don't know what the reception is. This thing actually they just announced it, so they're not minting it yet.
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't know how well a 25K collection is going to do. Like, if I was launching a collection these days, I'm under 5K for sure. Like I just like I couldn't imagine dropping this much supply.
Yeah, I think that'd definitely be the case if you want something to be highly valued. Maybe I would be guessing, knowing that the collection is so high, it's like a bit cheaper, more accessible, not so concerned about floor price would be my
Right.
bet, but that
Yeah.
would be my thought.
Yeah, and you know what? This is another just random thought. I actually started thinking about abstract over the weekend because I was going back and forth with Jared Potts on some stuff, and I
Okay.
just started thinking of all of the different assets that they have to try to pump, and especially if they have an abstract token coming out, bro, they're gonna have a Pango token, they're gonna have an abstract token, they're gonna have little pudgies, they're gonna have big pudgies, and just like trying to juggle all of those customer bases. It makes me think about how people are freaking out about DATs right now, just because DATs have stockholders and token holders, and like you can't keep them both happy, and they're like diametrically opposed because like the two things, like if sell one to pump the other one. It's totally an aside, they're not even in the headlines, but I was just thinking about them probably like if they have the abstract token coming soon, god, they're going to have to deal with a lot of customers and trying to pump 1,000 different things, which is a very tough thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's very relevant. I mean, I think for a long period of time, abstract and pudgy penguins have tried to, I mean, maybe sometimes they talk about how the longest supporters will get rewarded, and that has created the connection. And obviously, it's Luca running both. But I think maybe since then, there's been less of that talk and more like, pudgy penguins just keep crushing it over and over again on the brand side. And I haven't heard like that connection made as much. It's felt a little bit more like abstracted, kind of doing their own independent stuff. I know for people in the industry and in the market, we were able to make that connection. I haven't heard it as recently though.
Yeah. One last thing, and this is a little bit higher. The Hyper EVM USDC news. I am surprised, given how. So the head or the little line is Hyperliquid announces USDC is now linked between Hypercore and Hyper EVM. I get that is a good UX improvement for users because everyone has USDC, but knowing that they have their own stablecoin now, USDH is live. There's some markets that are actually enabled with it. I'm surprised they haven't just like kind of gone for the jugular a little bit and just like crippled these other stable coins, and then just like continue to pump the integration of USDH, because that is ultimately the thing that's going to make them more money and grow their ecosystem. So like continuing to do this and then further entrench these native stablecoins just makes it that much more unlikely that USDH actually gets a decent foothold for the protocol, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's see. That's worth keeping an eye on actually, because Hyperliquid maxis love Hyperliquid, and
Yeah.
and I guess the challenge with a lot of the other protocols is that they're all in competition with hype. So it is unsurprising to me that many of them sell off because people want hype. Stablecoins are not in competition with hype, so I would be intrigued to see the amount that has gone into USDH and the amount that stays there and how that TVL grows. Because in a way, that shouldn't be competing with people's devotion to the Hyperliquid token itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
USDT, USDA, or USDC are like wholly extractive. Like they're like the money goes to Circle and Tether. It leaves the ecosystem, and that it's now with the amount that they have, that's to the tune of $400 or $500 million a year that leaves the ecosystem and goes to buying gold for Paolo, right? Like
what a great business Tether is. Once more,
insane.
Every time we talk about it, we said it for years. It's the best business in the world. But that's actually a great way to frame it for either yourselves doing USDM or anyone else like trying to keep the money in the industry. Saying that it's like 400 mil going to Palo every year. I think at some point, like people will get annoyed. Like at some point, people will.
Yeah, they should.
Will realize.
Like it applies to every single ecosystem, right? Like Tether is omni-chain. It's like it's all over the same with you. The Circle has a little bit more bloat from employees, but yeah, it's a leak in the boat, right? If we view these things as like self-contained economies, right? Like that is for some of these chains several $100 million a year that leaves the ecosystem every single year. Like that's insane.
Yes. And I guess the way that they would justify, because I'm never a huge fan, particularly when it's just like market forces, market dynamics. I'm never a huge fan of calling people extractors or this or that, because the
They
value
provide a service. Yeah.
yeah, the value exchange there was people want dollars on chain because they think they can make even more money. They don't need the interest, because being in crypto up to this point has been such a profitable endeavor. And you're like, okay, cool, Tether, you keep the interest, you do whatever the hell you want with the interest. You want to buy gold with it, that's fine. You buy gold, you do whatever, and I'm going to make more money with my dollars. So there has been a period of time where it's been a perfectly fair value exchange, but that doesn't mean that the people who are kind of gatekeeping their ecosystems couldn't have stepped in and figured out a way to capture some yourselves. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be more competition here, which will be interesting.
This is, yeah, go ahead.
Well, as in, I think this is what happened with all markets, right? Someone at some point will establish supernormal profits and be absolutely printing, and we'll have like this generational amount, and then everyone will see that and think, hang on a second, what the hell is going on here? Like, why are we letting you make all this money? And now there's going to be a flood. And there's already been a flood, right? Like PaxG, USDG, various banks are going to come in and try, the PayPal USD, we're running incentives
Montana
and all of these things. So, say again.
I say Montana has their own stablecoin. Remember they're yeah, whatever it was.
There's going to be hundreds or thousands of stable coins moving forward, because it's just such a damn good business. Ledge, did you want to come in here? You looked like you were either agreeing or wanted to say something, and then Oxy's got his hand raised as well.
Yeah, I think the thing with stablecoins is you do like the big stablecoins because you have some sort of trust in them, some sort of like wide distribution acceptance. And it's interesting how Mega ETH is trying to solve for that. And maybe, Brett, can you quickly give that explainer on how USDM works and how it is tied to Ethena and where it's not tied to Ethena? So like, just give a quick overview of that model, because honestly, I have forgotten some of the details myself as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly entirely done by Ethena. So it's a white label solution. Ethena runs all the back end. Ethena, as you know, has a suite of products that they serve, right? They have a USDE, they have the USDTB, which is T-bills, which is in partnership with Securitize. So, we like, there's some like legal structure stuff that allows for like minting and requires us to do some of the stuff that we do. But TBD, or not TBD, but like TLDR is that, like, for the minting facility that we are going to be facilitating here before we go to mainnet, it's you turn over your USDC to Ethena then, or Ethena/Mega ETH in conjunction. We then convert that to USDM and we house USDTB on the back end. So you effectively just have a USDTB wrapper, which is a T-bill treasury.
Okay, so you use the TB, the treasure bill backed ones. And in
Correct.
case that, basically in case, say, Mega ETH completely fails, you making obviously a scenario, you guys decide to like, disappear, chain doesn't work anymore, whatever, it's like completely abandoned, then it is on Ethena to basically be the ones, we issued this token, it's backed by one USDM, is backed by one USDTB, and they would be the ones basically redeeming in case that for whatever reason you guys were to like disappear out of the nowhere.
Yeah, we functionally have market makers that sit there. Like, we have to like literally work with market makers to make sure that people are there ready to facilitate the exchange from USDM to either USDC, USDTB, like whatever people want to exchange it back to. Like the conversion we are facilitating specifically is USDC to USDM and back and forth. So you come and present to them. We have a bunch of people that sit there and are market making the exchange between the two to make sure there's not a bunch of slippage. You turn it over and they can source it from wherever they need to. But yeah, it's not guaranteed, or it doesn't have to always be USDTB. As we know, interest rates are all over the place these last couple years. So the construction basically says, like, we work with Ethena and we can use Athena's suite of products. So in an ecosystem or in an environment where the yields get compressed heavily, right? Say USDTB is only yielding 1 or 2%. In that world, USDE, which is another Ethena product, actually moves in inverse correlation to USDTB. So the interest rate there actually goes up. So we have the ability to basically manage this pool that we have on the back end of like, okay, you guys have turned over $1 million of USDC. We have now converted that to 60% USDTB, 40% USDE, or like, let's say we even leave some of it in USDC just to make sure that we have like just some stable pool there. But we can actually manage that whole backend pool using Athena's suite of products to make sure that we get yield that is at or above market safely.
One quick follow-up question to that. If you know, so with Tether, the thing is, if Tether USDT were to depeg, I can do off-chain redemptions with Tether specific. I think it's minimum 100K, and they'll just send you a check over, or will wire to that amount. In case, say that, I don't know, there's a mass exodus of USDM would depeg on chain. Do you then, not you, but could people then redeem that, in theory, the white labeled like Ethena stablecoins via Ethena themselves, or would that be done via the market makers? Do you know how that process would work in theory?
Yeah, it's actually a great question. I'm not too sure. I haven't gone down that workflow. So I'm going to ask to make sure I have the answer in the future.
Cool.
My instinct, like the other thing, would be that that's on the Athena side. But yeah, I mean, it would be great to get some clarity, because I think this model, in fact, I think Athena did this with, did they do the stablecoin as a service with Sui as well? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I think after us, we were the first ones to do it with them.
Yeah, after you guys, they've done that as well. And it's an excellent way to just expand their offering and give different chains a way to participate in their stablecoin TVL, rather than let it leak entirely. So it's like share it with Athena in some way. So very, very interesting. We've got a lot of more interesting stuff to talk about today. Oxy, your hand is raised first, though. Let's come to you. Final take here before we move it to the headlines.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I guess maybe circling back to like the using a stablecoin to support the ecosystem, like you were talking about Hyper EVM, and obviously with Mega ETH. I think you guys are spot on. Like as we continue to grow in this industry, I think more and more people are going to realize the impact it actually has to use these native stablecoins as it relates to the underlying ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, you might not see the direct yield, like you're not going to see yield coming out of your USDM, but down the line, they're going to be able to use, like Mega ETH's going to be able to use that revenue that they're generating from you holding that stablecoin to like put it back into the ecosystem, back into the chain, build out better products and dApps and so on and so forth. So I think the more that we talk about it and the more that we educate people on how important and how powerful it actually is to use these native stablecoins rather than some of these, like these larger players that are just, you know, not extracting, but the revenue is not going back into the ecosystem, is going to be more important. And then just speaking to like the value leak outside of maybe our industry specifically as it relates to stablecoins, like we're already seeing it with Wyoming, by the way. Brett is a state that has a stablecoin, but there's also large companies, you know, in South America that they're launching their own stablecoins, because it's like, if we're going to adopt on-chain payments, why would we let a third-party company profit from that? Like when we could capture that, you know, that revenue stream. So, I mean, it's happening very, very quickly where people are generating or issuing their own stablecoins, or companies are issuing their own stablecoins, because there is a value leak and a revenue leak there where they're simply not, they're missing out on profits, and it's just not something any company's interested in. So, yeah, you guys are spot on.
Makes sense, man. Appreciate that additional context, Oxy, as always. Right, let's get into the main headlines today. We've got some interesting stuff. We're going to talk the Beeple NFTs really catching fire. We're going to talk Aztec Network privacy chain raising more than $60 million in this kind of market. That's pretty interesting. Brett will take us through that. But before we get there, SEC Paul Atkins, legendary. Everything's getting tokenized. What do we need to know here? And key question really is, what's the way to participate? I've never felt like people have felt more that, you know, everything that everyone's dreamed about is happening in the crypto industry, but people are just feeling left out a little. So what's your take here? What do we need to know?
Yeah, that's a super interesting headline. And as you said, SEC Chair Paul Atkins did give a video interview, Fox Business that was, and basically saying that all US markets will be on chain within a couple of years. Going to that interview specifically to get a couple more details from that. So because Paul Atkins was making some interesting points, and I want to go through them and then just give my own opinion on that too. He was saying retail investors, as we call them, are really important, but that has shifted. Things have shifted. Markets are faster now, very dynamic. They are global. And the next step is coming with digital assets and digitization and tokenization of the market. And that will bring huge benefits with respect to decreasing risk and making things much more predictable and transparent on chain. So definitely picking out on the transparency idea. Explains what tokenization is. I don't think we need to go through that. And then he's being asked, do you expect that this is where financial services are going, where major banks are going? And he's saying, yes, absolutely, it is the way the world will be. Hearing that, I mean, maybe not even in 10 years, maybe a lot less time, maybe a couple of years from now. And then he also makes the point how that innovation exemption works from a regulatory perspective in the US and how that would be beneficial to companies. And I think it's a very, very significant headline because we've been discussing trade XYZ, all the on-chain equity perps, etc. And we've been making the point that they're growing super fast. I was personally impressed with the growth rate to see that you have NVIDIA, that you have other stocks on there that do 30 mil in daily trading volume and an 8-figure open interest, which is usable from our perspective, but it's definitely not usable from an institutional investor's perspective, who would want to have more exposure to that. And also, as a result, because this product category or this product class is so new, all the perp platforms can only offer you like a few selected stocks. You will get your NVIDIA, you will get your Tesla, you will get your Microsoft, your Alphabet, maybe like an S&P 500 index, maybe NASDAQ as an index. Trade XYZ, sorry, came up with their own XYZ 100 index, which I think also has private companies, not only publicly traded ones. But we are very, very far away from seeing basically the asset universe of even all the 500 S&P companies on there with tradable volume, with meaningful volume, and with meaningful liquidity. And if I was personally always thinking this is going to take way more time, more than a couple of years. But if we're moving into this direction, then the question will become, who will be the winner of that and how will that work out? Will it work out that basically the existing infrastructure rails are changing to be on chain? Or will it work out in the way that you will have companies like maybe Robinhood, like Hyperliquid to be more on-chain native, with Trade XYZs are pioneering that, which they already are or are trying to do, and will be pushing that. And I think if we ask ourselves the question how to benefit from that, then the answer is like depending on the hypothesis, who do you think will be driving this change and who will be pioneering it? And I am very, very happy to have basically exposure to Hyperliquid to put on volume on maybe Trade XYZ, maybe something else like Ostium or whatever, and try to hedge some of that. Not doing that at the moment. I'm only trading on Trade XYZ mainly, but also betting maybe on a company like Robinhood and try to get that exposure as well. That would be my thoughts on how I think I would like to capture that. And again, if the world is moving in that direction, then that will also come like with its own set of regulatory challenges, especially also from taking the European perspective again, from a tax perspective. Here in many countries, if you trade like on-chain stocks or like fractionalized stocks, whatever, they are not really treated the same way as actual stocks because they're derivative products, and sometimes that means they would fall into income tax as opposed to capital gains. So it will also be a huge regulatory lift to allow for that, that basically on-chain stocks are treated the same way as traditional equities are treated.
Interesting series of points. I'm not going to add too much for the moment, but I think that was a helpful way to just think about, okay, what's going on? How might you be able to participate? Because I think that's the thing that people feel a little bit locked out of at the moment as they see the tokens that they've held for multiple years now fail to make all-time highs, and people really kind of in a lack of belief period for some of this infrastructure that's been built out. Funky, your hand is raised. Curious for your thoughts here, then I'll check in with Brad.
I generally agree with Ledge that I have a hard time seeing this happening within 2 years. but I think he brought up some great points. But I also want to let you guys know that I am in the epicenter. I arrived in DC last night. I'm here for the Blockchain Association Summit, so going to be wearing the U.S. political correspondent hat. And both Atkins is actually at the BA Summit, so I'm going to try and talk to him and get a picture, little selfie with Paul Atkins. And Howard Lutnick's here. A lot of big names for BA Summit this year, so should be interesting circling back to you guys in the show the next couple of mornings.
Excellent. We'll expect Mr. Atkins to be accompanying you on the show in one of the next few days. So appreciate your on-the-ground investigative journalism, Funky, as always. Brad, do you have a thought here on how we participate? I know you're a big, well, you used to be a big Coinbase holder. I think you switched it over to Robinhood. Is that still the case? How are you looking at it?
That is still the case. Yes, I actually... I'm realizing as I've just like sat on my hands these last few, I still got some debts that I probably need to purge. Like I just need to take the L on some of these things and get out of town and reallocate my portfolio. But like outside of that, I don't have a lot of take on this. I've been diving deep into the Aztec stuff because like there's some interesting technical stuff here. So I'll be ready to talk about that.
Perfect. Let's do it then, because you know, we'll be discussing how to participate in the next stage of the market over the next weeks, months, years, frankly. As well. So I think that's enough for that today. Privacy Chain Aztec raising over 60 mil then, Brad. You are ready for that segment. Let's get into it. What do we need to know?
Yeah, so Privacy Chain Aztec raises over 60 mil. The key notes here is it was the first Uniswap CCA auction, which actually stands for continuous clearing auction. So CCA auction is redundant, FYI, for anyone else that reads that acronym in the future. What happened was people deposited ETH, and then the amount deposited actually increased the FDV. And if it moved above your limit, then you actually got some funds returned to you. So it's not too dissimilar to what happened with our auction. You put in an amount, like if it moved beyond your actual bid, then you didn't get the actual tokens, except this had an automatic return function to you. So it wasn't something that had to be, you had to adjust your bid, like you just got your money back. This was for 15% of the supply, which was released over 4 days. There was 350 million starting FDV, which is roughly 75% equity discount. And once it's done, a UniV4 pool is actually going to be created, which is with the amount that they raised will be around $21 million in TVL, which is pretty nice. And the auction itself finished at a 475 million FDV, which is 63% above what the floor was. If you participated in this, the next thing is you're going to actually get to create a token vault, and then you can actually, if you have enough tokens, earn block rewards waiting for TGE. And TGE itself will not come until on-chain governance kicks off, which is going to be earliest February 11th. So it's following a very similar path that, you know, I think, what was it? You make non-transferable tokens. I know Eigen did that. I think there was 1 or 2 other protocols that did the same thing, where it said like, oh, we sold these to you, you can't do anything. And because you voted to make them transferable, now it's on you that you actually did it to get around some of the regulatory issues with it. If people are interested in what Aztec is specifically and my general thoughts on it, I think zero for a while. And the reason I say that, I love the tech, I love the ambition. I think we actually do have a lack of privacy, so it's good to have more offerings. I think it's like all this stuff is good, but looking over the actual documentation for it, it's just going to take really fucking long to get this thing to actually become a thriving ecosystem, if at all. One, because I'm just generally bearish against people that opt into like privacy. It's actually good for you, but like I don't think normal users prioritize this stuff. They just don't care. So like no one is going to lift their entire life to move it to a privacy focused chain, because it is frankly cumbersome to them and therefore they won't do it. The second thing is like, just like understand the actual tech. The way that they do the private public stuff is very similar to like you don't have to do the shielding stuff if you're aware of ZEC or Bitcoin Cat or what was it? What's ZEC? Zcash. I was trying to say Bitcoin Cash. Zcash. Yeah, so what it does is like, you know, the privacy element of it is actually a local thing. So like you can basically execute the chain, do your own private functions. That's all local to you. It's on the client side. And then once you do the hidden stuff, you can send it then to the actual network itself, which is public. So you can have a balance of this private public stuff, but you don't have to do the operations of like, oh, I'm hiding this, and then now I'm not hiding it. It's just local stuff is private. Then the public stuff is all just on the network itself, and it uses a combination of UTXO and just like traditional EVM stuff. The other thing that has me bearish about this is that you have to like to enable all the tech that they have is net new everything. Has a new virtual machine, has new like gas models, has new code. Noir is what they're actually like the coding language you have to write in. They have Aztec JS, which is like the front end client side stuff. So like, bro, you just have to have net new devs learn net new shit to actually do this. And it takes a long time to have like this many hurdles reach anything that is like approaching a thriving ecosystem. So if you look at stuff like Monad, right? Monad just went live with the EVM and tried to make sure that it was one-to-one with the EVM and adopted all of the network effects that have been built up over the year with the EVM, all the tooling, all the user development, all the domain knowledge, all that stuff. And even then, it's like, it's pretty hard to like start day one or even day 100 with an actual ecosystem that has actual tools that people can like build and use and like pull from everything else. If you have all of these things, which is all starting from scratch, and everyone has to learn everything newly, all the tools have to be rebuilt, it's just, this is going to be a 3 to 5 year journey to like see this thing actually get any kind of adoption. And they even have the terminology changing. So they have a chart here in their documentation. It's like Ethereum mainnet, it's called gas. On Aztec, it's called mana. On Ethereum mainnet, it's called fees per gas. And on Aztec, it's called fee juice per mana. So even the terminology to be able to like communicate the thing you want to communicate, the educational hurdle, like actually get these people to adopt this stuff, understand it, do whatever, is just no chance. So bullish tech, they did good on the raise. I would not buy this thing. I think it's going to go to zero for a while until like you get actual usage and actual things that are interesting. And then maybe, you know, I'll look back in a couple of years and see if it's worthwhile.
Very interesting. Strong thoughts, Brad. Appreciate that insight. Just a couple of details for the people who might have missed the concrete numbers. 19,476 ETH committed, 16,741 participants. 50% of the capital committed has come from the Aztec community. And Legendary, if we just scroll down here a little bit, thinking on like specifically TGE, so people can expect or get some sense of when this is coming live. There were some details here. On TGE, TGE's is triggered by an on-chain governance vote, which can happen as early as February the 11th, 2026. At TGE, 100% of tokens from the token sale will be transferable. So if you participate in this public sale, they will be liquid. Only token sale participants and Genesis sequences can participate in the TGE vote. And you know, I'm assuming that those people vote for TGE because people never don't vote for TGE. That would not be something that anyone would do ever. Okay, so that's actually coming relatively soon in terms of TGE. But as the reason why Brad's commentary I think was especially helpful there was giving us a bit of a guideline on, okay, well, this is actually going to take a long time. And I guess maybe, although I'd love to chat to the team and get them on at some point, which I think we're going to start rolling out way more from January after a bit of a Christmas break. Like, you know, I think people are under pressure to get tokens out that have been either promised or been thought about for a long time, especially as the market's gone into a bit of a precarious position. So February 11th, 2026, not long to wait from the sale participants' perspective. Ledge, do you have a view here on the privacy chain, the way they've raised, or anything else to do with Aztec?
Yeah, super interesting raise, super interesting mechanism as Brad had described it. And I think privacy matters. Privacy is super important, but very strongly agree with Brad making the point that people won't go out of the way to achieve privacy. Now, if I can basically do something without going out of my way and have shielding features as a result of that and don't really need to change or adapt my user flow, then I'll do that. If I have to significantly go out of my way, I won't. Just look at how much time it even took an alternative wallet like Rabby to MetaMask, and how many people are still reluctant to switch over, despite the fact that you arguably get a better experience by doing so because you have a setup. We are all very, very convenient. This is in human nature. So if there's like a little checkbox that I tick for on Uniswap or on DeFi Llama Swap or whatever aggregator I use, and even better, it's ticked on by default, and then my stuff's private. Yes, if I have to move everything to a new chain and set everything up anew, then no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting takes there. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic, and not specifically to that step. Maybe I think something will come good out of privacy at some point in crypto, and I think actually the whole point is that people won't do it And the reason why that's good is because if everyone did it, people wouldn't be able to imagine what it would be like if everyone did it. And that's where value comes from. No one bought Bitcoin at the beginning. People had to imagine everyone else doing it. And no one should do privacy at the beginning as we experiment more in it. And maybe arguably they haven't. Like some of these privacy stuff's been around for some time. And now maybe some people are speculating more on it, but I think you actually need it not to have anything so that people can imagine it, at least in terms of this kind of the value. Like, this is purely from a bubble creating, a bubble investor's perspective, and just seeing how we've sold dreams in the past, perhaps. So that's, both an optimistic and I don't know, maybe even a bit of a cynical take, but I think something good will come of it. And then from the narrative perspective, you actually need it not to be taken up at the beginning. But I digress. We have one final headline for today, which I'll get to in a bit. This is a kind of fun one. I'm looking forward to. You've got some video footage from the Beeple event, which we'll be showing on video and describing. But before we get there, let's just go to our partners' information today. We want to get some information about our partners at Tria. So what do we have to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Going back to Tria, Tria is a self-custodial neobank that allows you to spend in 150 countries using more than 1,000 tokens on your Tria Visa card while earning up to 6% cash back every time you spend. Behind the scenes, Tria runs on its own tech, which is called Best Path. That's a permissionless Pathfinder marketplace where they're using micro markets, which are competing to move your money faster and cheaper across chains. And at the moment, or last week, Tria's founder, Parth, he did go on an interview on the biggest Korean financial TV station, which is Korea Economy TV, which I'm sharing on screen currently, where he was interviewed about Tria, about the future of banking. Quite an interesting interview there. If you haven't signed up for Tria, I will post the sign up link with our access code in the comments. And that's it from me. That's it on Tria.
Good stuff. Ledge, have you still been making some of your purchases? I saw one day the other day that Tria are running a campaign where if you do a hashtag Tria and you share the purchase that you made with their card, you get that, you may get that refunded depending on if you get selected or not. Have you been doing any of those? I saw you. What did you get refunded for?
Yes, this is still going on for another week or so, I think. One winner's pick daily, the purchase will be reimbursed. I actually had dinner with my tax advisor and I was, very generously paying for that. Nice steakhouse at the Ritz. And this is the one that got reimbursed. So I got to be generous and have a free dinner, which
Not a
is
bad
lovely.
one. Not a bad one to get refunded at all. Pretty good. Shout out to our partners at Tria for today. Okay, final headline for the day to close out. A fun one. Thank God, as the market has been a bit difficult recently. New Beeples are selling for $30,000 after the Art Basel giveaway. This was pretty cool. So Beeple, as you can see here, if you're watching on screen, or if you're not, I'll just try to describe what's happening. Doors open around 11 a.m. On December the 7th, is yesterday. The first 100 people got to crawl around the pen like dogs. And what you can see on the screen, if you're watching or if you're just listening, is the artist Beeple, very famous for his $69 million NFT sale back in the peak bull market, NFT market euphoria in 2021, crawling along the floor of this pen that he's created with a bunch of robot dogs, but with famous celebrity heads put on top of them. So you got like Jeff Bezos, you've got Elon Musk, you've got some other robot dogs. It caused quite a stir over the weekend. As usual, people really capturing people's imagination and making them feel something, sometimes disgust, sometimes fun, sometimes I don't know. He manages to get people's attention very well. But as part of the process over the weekend, he handed out some of these NFTs. You can see on the OpenSea link, Legendary, if we flip to that, you had this collection called Regular Animals. And so you'll see here, I think, so there are, just for people's details, there are 1,000, hang on a second, where did that information go? I think there was more than 1,000 prints available. So this would have been to buy. So 1,024 prints and 256 NFTs. And so what you can see here is that they've been trading around $30,000 since they have started trading. Not a bad win for people for attending a conference and receiving a digital asset. This is the way to onboard people to NFTs. What a outrageously fast route to liquidity. And I think that stands in stark contrast if you think about this from an art perspective. People who usually go and collect real art or experience real art, and to think that they could take something home and immediately sell that for liquidity. This is really one of the biggest use cases for digital assets, right? The immediate liquidity, the perfect on-chain transaction history, so people know the transparency of, so you know what the value is in the market. Was all of that is super opaque in the traditional art market. You cannot go home with something that you buy and sell it straight away the next day if you realize the price has gone up, because you won't even ever realize the price has gone up because the market is so opaque anyway. So I thought that was fun. That was an interesting one. Ledge, what did you think of this artwork, the spectacle at all, as we close out today's show?
Yeah, great way by people to capture people's attention with that. As you said, the liquidity is the big unlock. I do like that line of thought quite a lot, and it just feels nice to have these conference wins, which used to be way more common back in the day. I remember going to, what was it? VCon, the first one by Gary Vee in Minneapolis, and they had Snoop Dogg on stage.
yes.
People, this was fun. People were dumping their entry tickets. Snoop Dogg was the last, it was a 3 or 2 day conference, and Snoop Dogg was the last thing happening on the last day. And people were dumping their entry tickets because they were basically making the assumption, oh, this is now the last time that I have entered the venue, and after Snoop is done with his thing, we're gonna leave and fly home. So let's like still get some money out of that. And then I think Gary Vee said, or Snoop Dogg said, that people who held onto the ticket will get the Snoop Dogg NFT, and people like pumped both that Snoop NFT as well as the entry tickets. I think they 4x'd within a couple minutes on stage. And yes, obviously some people were buying the lows, some were flipping them. It's just a nice conference win story to have. And I like the same vibe with the regular animals by Beeple.
That is funny. That is funny. There is a real energy. Not that I'm always a huge fan of it, because you're kind of incentivizing people in an additional way. But there's a real energy created when you kind of merge the IRL experience with some type of digital. I think that's the way to do things in future. A little bit of a merge. Saw Jack Butcher doing something similar at Art Basel as well. There were a bunch of people doing similar. So well done to the artists. I think they were super well received. I saw some criticism in the sense that, oh, they're maybe going away from their Web3 roots. But what do you expect, guys? They need to go bigger. People need to keep expanding. They can still do what they're doing in Web3 as well as reach new audiences in the traditional world. So I think they've done a great job over the last week or so. So congrats to them. Guys, that's a good show. Interesting as always. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to my co-hosts, Legendary and Bread, as always. Thanks to Funky and Oxy for their thoughts and ideas. Thanks to our partners today, Tria. And thank you for joining us, guys. We do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, live on X Video, YouTube, Apple, and you can catch us on Spotify and TikTok. Have a wonderful day. Take care. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Bye-bye.